Hello, viewers of our Stop the Destruction of the World program. We are here with you weekly to bring you new discoveries in the works developed by the psychoanalyst and social scientist Norberto Keppe. The goal is to spread this science called psychosocial pathology. In other words, Keppe has made the unification of the study of the causes of the problems and solutions linked to the individual, to society, and furthermore, the interrelation that exists between the two. So today I would like to remind you of a very important book that Keppe wrote in France while he lived and worked there, called Freedom Through Knowledge, or The Age of Reason. This book that our viewers are able to see on the screen, Freedom Through Knowledge, The Age of Reason. In it, Keppe made a study, once again, totally new. New in the sense that he was able to unite ideas about metaphysics, the knowledge of metaphysics, and the ideas of the French Enlightenment, where he makes the junction of society's feelings, emotions, knowledge of emotions in society, and the aspect of knowledge per se. So Keppe said in this book that there exists a number of conducts that the individual and society are unaware of. One of them is the corruption that one makes of one's own knowledge and reason, leading to these unknown neurotic emotions. While the human being is unaware of these neurotic emotions, covered in arrogance, soberb, envy, this obsession for power that corrupts one and society. So until he becomes aware of this, we are not going to reach the proclaimed age of reason. Far from it. So today we are here to discuss a number of concepts about how neurotic emotions can act negatively at the structure of knowledge, and even in the political, social, and economic structure in which we live. Dr. Keppe?
I am now going to introduce to our viewers a sociological concept that is a new concept about social life. I'm going to put up a chart for you in relation to what I will now treat. Let's see.
What is a society? Society, in its essence, take a look, is good, beautiful, and true.
So, what do I mean by this? A number of authors, such as Durkheim and Weber, did not give any primary emphasis to the combination of human beings which form a society, in order to verify that society is always superior to the individual human being. So in the many societies that the world has seen, a vast number of countries have had enormous damages suffered in social life, such as Germany, Russia, and now probably China, and certainly the United States, because they give value only to individuals, such as Marx in Russia, and maybe in China, or like in the United States with Adam Smith, who is placed above the human power of society, placing capitalism as the primary function of the human being and the primary function of society. This is why I am saying that society is always attacked by people who have a lot of power, the power of argumentation, and you can be sure that these individuals are very disturbed. They put their ideas above the value of society. And referring back to the chart, let's see number 2.
Society per se supplies mental equilibrium.
This happens in psychotherapy groups, when there is a group of sometimes 50 people 20 or 10 or even less. Normally, if there is a person in this group who is very sick, paranoid, or manic-depressive, obsessive, these people create problems for the entire structure of the group. But through consciousness, the group gradually brings this person back to the normal structure. That is, it's always society that is attacked by those individuals who are sicker, and society then can also become very sick. So sick that it can lead huge groups of people in the wrong direction, as we have sometimes witnessed in situations of dictatorships. Therefore, it is very important to give a lot of attention, a lot of support to this aspect of sanity, the sane part of society. Let's see the next one that I've written, number 3.
The social function alone is superior to the human being. Observation. It is for all these reasons that we have to preserve the good working order of society.
Because society has to prevail over these groups of sick individuals. Secret societies, these societies that remain in the shadows, are groups that are generally very dangerous to the larger overall human society. So this is what we mean about conscientization being fundamental in order for all people to have the wherewithal to make society function in its normal, correct way. It's consciousness that provides social equilibrium. Let's consider this sentence now.
The value of a society is measured by the good that it accomplishes.
Notice that a society is worth the goodness that it provides for human beings. Now, what happens if a society protects only certain groups, protects one or another faction, as for example happens in a Marxist society that only protects those who are in power? And now capitalism only protects those who have money. It is said that the United States is the richest country on earth ever. But the United States is not rich. It's a group of millionaire individuals there who are rich. Therefore, it's a faction living there who have this, while amongst the people there is quite a lot of poverty. Even though compared to other peoples there are those who earn relatively better. So let's see from where these modern ideas came from, which are not always correct in relation to society. Let's see one.
John Locke.
John Locke had said that the human being comes together to form a society. He thought that society was made by human beings. They unite in order to defend themselves from danger, from savages, animals, defend themselves from those who establish problems in the society. To such an extent that I would like us to consider another author as well.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
And what did Rousseau say? Let's see.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau's fundamental idea was that the human being is born good and society perverts him.
Notice that in general he put all of society as being something harmful. But all of society isn't bad. There's always an underlying basic sanity in society. It's like the individual human being. No matter how mentally sick he may be, he still conserves a certain degree of sanity within himself. And this is why the human being can return to sanity if he becomes conscious of the insanity that he produces. Let's see on the chart now, number 2.
The fundamental obligation of every human being is to return to conscious purity.
Just look how Jean-Jacques Rousseau knew that deep down inside the human being has a perfect consciousness of things, as if it were the voice of God. Let's see number 3.
the belief in a supreme being, a future life, happiness of the just and punishment of the unjust.
Rousseau said that happiness, one's future life, the happiness of the better people, depends also on the punishment of the unjust, of the guilty, of human beings who are sicker. And number 4, let's see.
Abuse arises from loss of consciousness,
which is obvious. And number 5.
The mystic feeling of nature arises from the feeling of personal interiorness.
And number 6.
Feeling is the true instrument of knowledge. The real author of the French Revolution, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, influenced all of humanity.
Notice that Rousseau was an incredible genius. And 15 years after he died came the French Revolution. Well, we know that the French Revolution caused much distress and outrage due to Danton, Robespierre, those who made the revolution, and once again, as always happens, tried to force their own individual ideas on human society, on all of the French society. So let's consider the original makeup of society, the fabric of society in and of itself. Let's see.
Society per se, as good, is...
It would be like this. It would be goodness itself if it were not attacked by extremely egocentric individuals. So what do I mean by this? It's that society itself, in its origin, was also created by God, as was the human being. It was created as a structure of pure goodness, but there are always people who attack it, sick people who try to put themselves at the helm and then attack the good society. Let's see number 2.
The authentic society has to live with everyone: women, girls, men, children, and senior citizens.
The real society has to live with all sorts of human beings, including those who are sick. You can't take a sick individual or a criminal and put him in a jail or in an asylum. This has to be taken care of in other ways so that such individuals follow suit so that they are able to live with others. Number 3.
Every individual who doesn't accept help from society is sick. Illness begins when the human being rejects living in society.
So any person who refuses to live normally in society has the characteristic of a sick, disturbed person. We'll be right back.
Even if we don't have a lot of consciousness, we can perceive that life is divine. We live in transcendence, whether we accept it or not. We still live in an earthly paradise, except we don't accept it. In fact, we attack what is most beautiful, good, and real. Consciousness of our envy and inversion will make it possible for us to return to this paradise we've abandoned. We don't need to build it. We just need to accept it. The Stop the Destruction of the World Association was created to bring about exactly this consciousness. We are working to return the world to goodness. Join us.
Well, I would like to now present the 2 principal authors in sociology that humanity follows. Let's see the first one.
Emile Durkheim.
And what did Emile Durkheim say? Let's see.
The inversions of Emile Durkheim. First, the wrong idea in terms of the social fact supplies the origin of society.
He took this idea from the Americans, that a society is formed by the fact itself. The Americans, and mainly that of John Duns Scott, who came from England, they thought that a thing in itself, a fact, the phenomenon, whatever it may be, is what comprises a society. But it's nothing like that. To the contrary, society is a structure that already exists in itself. And from this structure comes those who are good when they follow what is good, and those who are perverse when they follow what is evil. So this idea of the Frenchman Émile Durkheim is also an inverted idea. Let's see number 2.
Everything that happens has its origin in society, even suicide.
Just look, in reality it's the opposite. It's not society that leads to suicide. Society leads to life. So who commits suicide then? It's those who are against society. So you sociologists, the schools of sociology, it behooves us to understand that sociology has become dangerous because it puts things in an opposite way, always attacking what is right, that which is the good society. Let's see number 3.
This is the reason why the French society is always so confused. It's necessary to conscientize that the social fact can be bad, if it is bad, ugly, or a lie. So, Dr. Kepi, I would like to give a contribution to our viewers because they must be very confused. Perhaps one thing is the real society as the Lord puts it. This is good, beautiful, and sane. Substract of life in a communitarian way. One being helping others, structuring and helping each individual. Another thing is a social economic structure that is being imposed by small groups or individuals who are highly neurotic and are at the top in powerful places. So this situation is abnormal. It is not a real society. What we live is an exploitation, experiencing unnecessary economic difficulties and environments that are not natural in society. They are a corruption made by individuals who impose this in social life.
Speaking about present-day society, everyone wants to become rich, or better, where people work, improve their lives in order to earn money. And culture, where does that come into play? And spirituality, where is that? And the arts, what about the arts? If you take notice, the artist, the true artist, don't have much interest in money fundamentally. So much so that oftentimes they don't know how to deal with this aspect. They don't know how to take care of themselves in this sense. As Claudia mentioned, the true society, the real society, is the one which has been there long before these malevolent institutions entrenched themselves. Let's see now Max Webern. Let's see his photo. And what did Webern have to say?
Max Weber noticed that society based itself first on the affectionate action, and second, in the rational action, and third, in the economic action.
Notice that he also committed an inversion. That is, he placed society as a collection of individual actions, the affectionate, the rational, and the economy. But society is a type of entity that even works by itself. So automatically, where a group of people exist, they unite. We saw, for example, in New York, when the Italians arrived there, they go to what is now called Little Italy, a neighborhood in the south of New York. The Swedish arriving there meet up in the societies that they've formed there. The Brazilians also have their groups, the Latin Americans in their group. Do you see? It's something spontaneous, automatic.
Even energetic. Some authors call it soul, the soul of the people.
The soul of society. Number 2.
Thus, the fact that the more materialistic nations obtained so much wealth,
And this perishes as well. What's the use of Germany having all that incredible progress, including economic, if then it all perishes? The same with England. And now the United States has fallen as well. And China will fall, if it's not already falling. Let's see number 3.
Max Weber gave more value to work than to leisure. So Germany developed itself more than France, because it saw the internal aspect of society.
Because of the value of work, Arbeit, as they say in German, this value that Max Weber put on work caused Germany to grow. As long as Germany continues to give value to the fundamental aspect of work, it will continue to grow. And the moment it begins to stop, it will fall, like the United States, and like all the nations that fell when they stopped their good actions. So let's see this next chart. What is the correct conduct of the human being?
You will have to explain this. In the center, we see the human being at the service of society, of science, of church, of art, schools, culture, economy, politics. This would be a philanthropic or alter-centric attitude. I add, that would be this interest in humanity.
But what I would like to say is that either the individual has an interest in humanity, the sane aspect of society, of course. Either he has an interest in society, or he will perish, or enter into mental illness. So psychological balance arises from the union that the human being has with social life, sane social life, of course. If a society has nothing in it that is sane, then it's just as well that he not be interested. So let's see these ideas that I always explain on our television programs that would be ideal for any society.
All the people would receive free food.
Of course, imagine a person is born and soon dies of hunger because he can't buy milk. What is this? This type of thing is utterly unnecessary.
All the people should have access to clothing. This is also fundamental.
And number 3.
All the people should have a roof over one's heads. The accomplishment of these ideals will bring peace and well-being to all the people who give them conditions to reach other stages of the arts and culture.
What I want to say is the following. The politician, when he gets elected, becomes so euphoric, so satisfied, all smiles. And why? Because he knows that he's going to be able to get his hands on all kinds of money, make millions, things like this, have incredible power, become untouchable, this and that advantage. Listen, when a politician enters into office, he shouldn't earn any money at all. This public service should be done free of charge. This must become one of the conditions. And there cannot be 1 or 2 people in charge. It should be like in ancient Greece in the days of Pericles, when 30 people led society, 30 people of the elite, and every 3 months they changed. Because if, for example, you put 1 person there for a half of eternity, then of course he'll want to stay there forever, until he dies, jeopardizing the situation of the country. In Germany, they told me there that if Hitler had stayed in office for 4 years and then gotten out, it would have been good for the nation. But he stayed longer, and it led to that atrocity. So take a look at the idea that we have of society.
Society is superior to man. Society is more balanced and sane than people.
This is obvious. And secondly,
the mentally sick normally attack society.
So if a person does not accept society, if he attacks society, he is sick. Let's see number 3.
Individuals who are saner live to do good in society.
So the question is not to verify whether a politician is stealing a lot or not so much, or if a politician is going to have this or that idea, but whether or not he is going into office to serve the people, whether or not he already serves, whether he really has interest in doing this. That is, whether or not he stopped being a child, a chronic behavior, or a depressive child, a paranoid child, whether he is willing to make the sacrifice of serving society. Otherwise, it's of no use that he goes into office, because he's going to cause damage to the community or to the country. And the last part, let's see the observation.
The sanest individuals are for social welfare. The individual helps society, and those who are sick always attack.
So, who is the wise man, the most scientific who exists, who can provide this correct orientation for us?
Jesus Christ.
Let's see what he said.
Christian philosophy. Jesus Christ was the greatest philosopher of humanity.
Obviously.
He said, "Love one another." This is Christianity at its best. He also said that we should be tolerant with the vision of errors, which is the philosophy of pardoning or forgiveness. Without these positive aspects, humanity will not survive.
So, do you see? Jesus Christ is not only for the churches, He's for all of humanity. So the institutions should allow Him to participate, because everything that He brought serves for all of humanity, and not just for a chosen group. He is the God of everyone, not only the religious, but of the scientists, of the thinkers, and obviously the theologians as well. Everyone. Well, Claudia, until next time.
Till next time.